So as I'm sure a lot of you guys know, a few years ago, my husband Tim and I and our friend Han decided to ride our bicycles across the United States and also raise money for a couple different charities, one of which is in Flint, Edible Flint. You may be familiar. So as you might imagine, during this trip there were a lot of ups and downs, and there were a lot of moments that challenged how I thought of myself and how I thought of the world. And one of these moments was when we went up Monarch Pass, which is, for those of you who don't know, it's over 11,000 feet above sea level. It was the highest mountain that we went over on our trip and the first summit that we went over on our trip. So it was a harrowing experience. I remember when we first were approaching the Rocky Mountains, it was unlike anything we'd seen so far in our trip. I mean, we'd gone through the Midwest, we'd gone through the foothills of the Ozarks in Missouri, and nothing compared to what this looked like. I mean, they dominated the skyline, and you could see them for miles. In fact, it took us a whole day when we first saw them to even get into the mountains. It took us that long to get there. And I remember riding up toward them, and we were on the road, and this guy pulls up a little bit ahead of us and rolls down his window and kind of half-jokingly asked if we wanted to hitch a ride over the mountains, because who would want to ride their bike over mountains? And looking back on it, well, in that moment I was feeling very defiant and very confident in myself, and so I said, heck no, like, the whole point of this is so we can go over these mountains, you know, and we're gonna get so much from it. And if we had met this guy right when we were approaching Monarch Pass, I might have changed my tune, because that day was very intimidating. But if I had taken a ride for him, I would have missed out on a momentous challenge that forever shaped how I thought about what I was capable of and what other people are capable of. So the day that we were going to conquer Monarch, I was filled with apprehension. Like I said, it was unlike anything we'd ever done before, and so we kind of, you know, we were sort of trying to dawdle, like kill time a little bit before we actually started up the mountain. And we stopped and got a big meal of Mexican food, which, looking back on it, was a horrible choice. So we had this huge meal of Mexican food, and immediately afterwards got on our bike and started up this mountain. And so the thing about the Rocky Mountains is the roads that go through them are very long. The grade isn't that great. So we knew it was going to be an all-day event getting to the top of Monarch. So we set off at a crawl from the beginning, and hours came and went, and I remember I was already, you know, thinking, like, what am I doing here? It was like I was asleep up until this moment. I was just like, what? I'm on this mountain and I'm trying to ride my bike up it, and who do I think I am that I'm doing this right now? Like, the people that are driving by must see me and know that I'm just pretending to be strong enough to do something. It's crazy. And, you know, those thoughts just were, I mean, it was non-stop for a couple hours, and the whole way up the mountain, you know, you hear that in the back of your head. But so time went on, and we kind of slowed down a little bit, and we took breaks here and there, and, you know, waited for the other ones to catch up, because some of us were faster than the others. and about halfway up the mountain, I started coming up with these scenarios where it would be excusable for me to hitch a ride to the top and meet the guys there. And, you know, I was thinking to myself, like, oh, you know, that's the safe decision, right? That would be the responsible decision, to hitch a ride. And, you know, thinking of all these things, well, maybe if I twisted my ankle, and, you know, that would be a good, if I fell, or, you know, I mean, just all these different things. If I have a close encounter with a car, or, you know, something weird happens, then I can hitch a ride. And or maybe if I push my bike, the people driving by will think that I need a ride, and then they'll offer it to me, and, you know, that I have to take their ride. But in, you know, the back of my mind, you hear this small voice, and I knew this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I doubt that I'm ever going to be able to experience that again, and I didn't want moments of self-doubt or discomfort to stop me from experiencing it. So I kept onward, and like I said, this was an all-day event. As we got closer to the summit, the air got colder, and snow was all over the ground. And I mean, this was July. You know, I've never experienced mountains before, so this is pretty amazing from my perspective. And I was riding, just trying to take everything in. It was a beautiful day. I remember, you know, the sky was this vibrant shade of blue, and the sun was shining, and you look down and it's just a sea of pine trees. And I mean, Colorado is a beautiful place. And I was looking around just trying to take it all in, and all of a sudden I felt like I was the one being watched. And I looked over, and there was this large porcupine on the side of the road, and I slowed down, and Tim actually came up behind me at this point, and we both threw our bikes down and chased after this porcupine. I don't even know. The air was really thin, you know, we were, I don't know. So we take off after this porcupine, and we actually, even though he was running very awkwardly up the mountain, we lost him pretty quickly. So we were left sitting in the snow, taking everything in together, and at that moment in time, I was 100% present. And it was like, I mean, the only thing I could compare it to would be like stepping into Narnia or something. You're just like looking out on this beautiful snowy day, and I mean, in the middle of July, you know, it was a very incredible experience. And I was 100% present. And if I had taken a ride, you know, from somebody, if I'd hitched a ride and was looking from the other side of a car window, I never would have experienced that moment. So, you know, it was a very inspiring moment, and I'm glad I could share it with Tim.
Me too.
Of course we had to get back on our bikes and keep riding. And Tim took off, and I was by myself riding and kind of slowing down a little bit. And we were almost near the top at this point. Han had already beat us there, and he was waiting for us. And I was by myself, and I was really crawling at that point. Just going, my tires were going so slow, rotating so slowly that I went over a ledge that was probably this high, and I couldn't get the momentum to turn my tire, and I was clipped into my pedals, and I just slowly turned over and landed on my side. And I looked around, you know, to see if anyone saw that happen, and no one did. But I was cracking up, and it was a very lovely reminder that I wasn't a serious athlete, but I, you know, stuck it out, and I was there, and you know, I made it. You know, the peak was just around the bend, and so laughing, I continued on and reached the summit where the guys were waiting, and we spent all day trying to get to this place, and we only were there for maybe like 3 minutes before we took off on the other side. And you know, it felt so natural to put so much energy into going up one side of the mountain, and then on the way down, you're just like rocketed down the side of the mountain. And I mean, the wind just like biting your skin, and you know, you're just holding on for dear life, going as fast as you would if you were on, you know, a motorcycle or something. I mean, it was ridiculously fast. And you know, that descent was such a reward. And looking back on it now, it's so crazy to think that, you know, 3 20-somethings from different backgrounds, and you know, we all decided to put in time and energy into something like the bike trip, or, you know, like going up Monarch Pass, and we were trusting that it would be a rewarding experience, and it was. And that's probably the biggest thing that I took away from that whole trip and from Monarch Pass. And honestly, when my dad first told me about this event, I had the same voices of doubt and knot in my stomach as I had approaching Monarch Pass, and that's the only reason I'm up here right now. It's because I'm trusting that, I mean, it has been a very rewarding experience coming up here, so thank you all for listening.